you have many things that you're doing. You can't go maximum on everything. And so optimal training, really does rely on, requires the athlete to work hard, obviously, work hard. You gotta put yourself in a state of fatigue. And that's why we have hard workouts. And fatigue stimulates the body to adapt. When you start to fatigue, your body wants to adapt in a way that it doesn't get fatigued again. And to be able to fatigue, the athlete has to recover. There are certain tissues in the body that have to recover after exercise. And those tissues is tissues of the blood, the lungs, the arteries, all those cells that make up those tissues have to recover. And it does kind of happen at the cellular level. There are times where cells die off because we don't recover. We don't do things that makes this. I mean, cells are going to die off. Eventually they're going to die off. But recovery, if you don't recover properly, more will die off, and it just takes a little longer for your total body to recover. But it requires you to rest and get optimal nutrition. Nutrition, like I said, it really needs to be real food, the best you can do. I mean, stuff like this, that's about as close as you can get that you can put in a package. Yeah, that's good. Sweet potatoes would be better. I told you about how I like doing sweet potatoes, right?
Yeah.
Wait, no.
No.
You get sweet potato, clean it all off, don't leave the peel on. You cut it in sections, so it's like coins. Okay, big coins, about that thick, and boil them for 10 minutes. I take erythritol and some cinnamon, and I mix them up, and I sprinkle it on the sweet potato. Really good. But that's one of the best ways to hold the nutrients in, is by boiling it.
What about air frying? Is air frying not?
But it just kills more of the a lot of the nutrients as well. But they just say boiling is the best way to do it. Okay, so hard training, how hard training affects your body. And I'm not very smart, I can't remember things, so I have to make up something. So the word go ape happens to figure out pretty well, and it works out well, because what happens to your body when what does exercise do to your body? It goes ape. It just pounds up. You guys know it. Have you heard the phrase go ape?
Yeah.
Somebody went ape on.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen an ape pound on another animal?
Yeah.
And it's kind of what it refers to. Okay. So there are like 5 things that we need to think about in terms of nutrients to recover. Oh, crap. Okay. First is glycogen loss. You guys don't remember what glycogen is? Okay.
Kind of. Carbs.
It's
If you want to refresh me, that'd be fine.
Glycogen is a carbohydrate, and we actually will, if your muscle cells, so like the cells in here, so this, imagine this is a muscle cell. I don't know what kind of cell this is, but imagine this is a muscle cell, and in that muscle cell, it also stores energy. Okay, like a lot of times we know we got sugar in our blood, glucose, that gives us energy. But when we run out of blood glucose, because we're working out a long time, what will happen is it will start pulling something out of your cell called glycogen. Glycogen, when this cell is absent of glycogen, it will want to store more. Okay, so when you get a really hard workout, you use the sugar that was in your blood from your,
So say like hills.
we're doing hills, like a pretty long hill
Yeah,
workout.
a long workout.
And we don't have very much like sugar, carb, like much like source of energy in us or nutrients in us. It will pretty much start pulling from that glycogen thing until it's empty.
Right,
Will it get through all of it in a workout?
can.
Okay.
It would have to be a pretty long workout, or you might just be deplete of glycogen.
Yeah.
If you're on a protein diet or something like that, you may not have any glycogen at all.
And that comes from glucose.
Okay, so now we'll talk about where you get it, okay? But glycogen is a carbohydrate that's stored in your muscle cell. It's also stored in your liver, okay? And then the liver will also send it out if you need it. But in fact, when people go on a really low carb diet, one of the reasons they lose weight is because they're getting rid of their glycogen. They're using all their glycogen up. They don't have any glycogen. Glycogen requires water. Okay, so what happens is you're just getting rid of a lot of water weight that is there to help sustain glycogen. Okay, so all right, just gotta keep going here. So we have glycogen, and so it's stored in the muscle cells. If you use it up, you want to replenish it. You want to put more in. That's part of what you might want to try to eat when you eat stuff. Oxidants. Okay, now right up here it shows you metabolic waste, oxidants, and acid. Those are both metabolic products. In other words, when you exercise, you've heard of giving off lactic acid, you produce lactic acid, that would be like one of the acids. Okay, it's something that as a result of your exercising and producing energy, that's what these metabolic things are. They're waste products from energy. Okay, it's just like when you light a match, it gives off smoke. That's a waste product. Okay, the waste product in the body are what's called oxidants and acids. Okay, there's other names for oxidants. Okay, I'm drawing a blank. Free radicals. You heard of that term before? Yeah, sometimes if you study a little bit of nutrition, you'll hear things called free radicals. What happens is, it's sort of like it causes things to oxidize. What happens when you oxidize metal?
It
Rust. Becomes dysfunctional. Okay, now the bolt doesn't want to, the nut doesn't want to come off that bolt. Okay, it just doesn't function well. So in a way, if we produce a lot of oxidants, the internal organelles become dysfunctional. It's like they're rusting. They don't rust, it's what they call oxidative stress. They start breaking down. Because what happens is, these oxidants, and you'll not hear that term, they usually call it free radicals, but what will happen is, those free radicals, or I call them oxidants because they oxidize, they'll come in and take oxygen from the lining of these endoplasmic reticulum, or the mitochondria. You guys know what the mitochondria does for the body?
It's the powerhouse of the cell.
Right. So it's where ATP is used and gives off energy. But if those oxidants come in here and they start taking oxygen from the materials of the wall, it breaks down. Now all of a sudden you can't produce energy. So the cell will eventually die. Okay, but that's called oxidative stress, and people get really sick from having oxidative stress. That's what causes lots of our diseases.
So like if you're not consuming enough antioxidants and you have like a lot of oxidative stress, and then you start consuming more antioxidants, does the cell like adapt and become more resilient to oxidative stress in a way, or not quite? Like if you
Yeah, when you start eating it, it neutralizes it.
Okay.
Okay, and we're gonna get in that,
Okay.
kinda getting ahead. Okay, but acid obviously is when it's left and it doesn't allow to, if your cell becomes acidic, then that causes problems. The cell doesn't function well and could die off as well. Okay, protein loss is another one. We want, obviously, you know why we need a certain amount of protein. Electrolytes, you guys know what electrolytes are? Okay, those are things that makes your nerves and your muscles and everything work well. You know, it helps the electrical process between the nerves and the muscles, and we need electrolytes. So those are the things that we really would like to recover. And so when you look at it, what do we want to do in terms of the kind of foods we want to eat? We want to eat foods. It says down there, what do you need to give your body and cell? So when you're looking at glycogen, you would like to have a quality source of starch or sugar. Okay? Now, I don't know if it says on here. And just say I'm gonna. Okay. Down there in the lower right-hand corner says quality. Quality means food sources that are uncompromising. So what that means is, I want to have the kind of starch that doesn't cause other problems. If you're just eating horrible sugars that you really aren't from a whole food, just like table sugar, if you eat that kind of stuff and you just have a lot of that in your system, it will replenish your glycogen, but it also will send your blood sugar way up. When you send your blood sugar way up, it sends in, what is it that it produces?
Free radicals?
Huh?
You're talking about free radicals?
No.
Oh, oxidation.
No. When your sugar goes up,
Oh, inflammation.
no, what does your body give you to bring the sugar back down? Insulin. Okay. So what happens is when your sugar goes high, the body starts pumping out insulin to bring the sugar back down. It doesn't want it to be that high. But that also causes your body to want to store more fat. Okay? And so that's where you have to be careful with those things. But but also long term, you're just thinking about health, you'll want to try to get glycogen that comes from a good quality source of starch. Where would that be?
Like fruits?
Yeah. Fruit.
Potatoes.
Huh?
Potatoes.
Yeah. Potatoes. That would be that'd be a type of starch.
I ate 3 potatoes the other night.
Huh?
Said I made 3 potatoes the other night. I ate all 3.
But yeah, you want to have something. You want to have something that doesn't cause more problems. Okay, does that make sense? Because it's uncompromising and it doesn't compromise other things. Okay, oxidants. You want to have something that goes against the oxidants, antioxidants. And what that will do is it will neutralize those things that comes from our, the result of our exercise. We give off waste products, it's going to neutralize those. In fact, if you can have some of those in your bloodstream already, while you're working out, it's neutralizing it, it's getting rid of it. Okay, and that's important. It makes it to where you don't have to even work hard at recovering as much if you eat well. Acid, you want to have something that is anti-acid, which we also refer to as antacids, antacids, or something that's alkaline. Alkaline is the opposite of acid. Okay.
Couldn't you also say basic?
Pardon?
Couldn't you also say basic?
Basic, yeah, base, yeah. But in the area of nutrition, a lot of times they use the term alkaline. So we want to eat things that are more alkaline. Just use examples. What are foods that have antioxidants in them?
Seeds.
Huh?
Seeds.
Seeds?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some.
Berries.
Berries, yeah.
Berries, yeah, berries are really strong. The darker the better. Even vegetables.
Spinach.
Spinach does have some. Anything that's real, especially really dark vegetables and fruit, have antioxidants. The berries are really known to have maybe some of the higher levels of antioxidant. But that anti just means it works against the oxidants, those free radicals. And then we have acids, the opposite of antacids, are things that are alkaline. That's vegetables. Okay, really good whole vegetables. When you cook vegetables or you cook them really a lot, then you're going to tend to lose some of the antioxidants. Cooking in some cases, destroys some of that. And there's some certain vegetables you have to cook to eat. But anyway, we're going to go on. Quality sources of protein. Again, quality means you don't want to eat stuff that's compromised. In other words, it may compromise something in other areas. There's certain types of proteins that are, well, almost all proteins are acid. Okay, it causes your body to become acidic. So you have to kind of be careful about some of those things. Also causes oxidative stress, so we have to be careful there. But we'll look at those as we get going. But it needs to be a quality source of protein. Now electrolytes, again, same thing, quality minerals. The problem is, a lot of these things, companies try to figure out how to make you buy stuff. Okay, so they'll say they put electrolytes in the solution. It's not nearly as good as getting it from food. Okay, it's not as bioavailable. They say it is, but it's not.
What about it makes it not as bioavailable?
What's that?
What about it makes it not as bioavailable?
Well, in some cases, it's just not natural. When you get it in your food, it's very natural.
What about like drinks like orange juice? Orange juice is typically high in like potassium and calcium.
Yeah.
Is that decent? Okay.
Yeah. Of course, the more natural it is, where they haven't had a lot of stuff.
Whenever you're trying to get in like your sugars, obviously you said table sugar is not super good and that makes insulin do its thing. Does like fruit sugar do the same thing?
No.
It doesn't?
No, because it's blunted by fiber. Fiber blunts the effect of the sugars.
Okay.
And blueberries are known to really do pretty well with that.
Oh, the superfood.
So like when we talk about like snacking in between meals, is it the bad thing to snack without using that quality sugar, like getting things that are like packaged and stuff like that, but like snacking between meals like with like your quality sugars like fruits and vegetables, that's okay?
Yeah, fruits and vegetables.
And like nuts and all that stuff. That's okay to snack between meals?
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, it just depends on what you snack on. Okay. Okay, now the first group we're going to look at, we're just going to look at different groups of foods. And I just went ahead and put the arrows down. I'm just going to show you spices. There's a lot of spices that are really good. And you can see blue kind of means it's cool, it's okay, it's not causing problems. Okay. So when it's blue like this, it means there's no glycogen, but it doesn't take away from the glycogen. Okay. If it's green, it's okay, and that's why I got the color. Oh gosh darn. I'm gonna give you guys
Coloring sheets. Yeah.
a coloring book. No,
I
it's
did
just,
one of these classes.
You know us so well.
yeah, I did that because if you want to draw in the colors, you could. Okay, so spices, pretty much, they don't give you glycogen. They don't really add to your protein loss, so we can't replenish glycogen or protein but it's very good in the electrolytes. So this is like the traffic lights. Green means go. Yellow means, yeah, just kind of be careful. And red means, you know, try to stay away.
Wait, what did green mean again?
Greens go. Greens, those are the kind of things you want to try to eat. So spices are really good. And that's one of the things we talk about. You like to get some kind of good spice in your diet every day. And more than one, even better. They don't really have any negative effect.
Does it matter what it is? Like onion powder, garlic powder, like salt, pepper, paprika, stuff
Well,
like that?
no, we'll get into the different types
Okay.
as we go on there. Yeah.
So, obviously, like spices and spicy food are different. Does spicy food have any?
Spicy food has spices in it. If you're talking about hot spicy,
Yeah.
those are combos. Tations, what's the word? Anyway, the hot spicy stuff is really good for you.
That's great to hear. Because everyone's always like, oh, it's gonna ruin your gut.
I
one day.
hate spicy stuff.
Well, I mean, obviously you could do too much,
Oh,
but
shoot.
there are
Okay.
some things you could do too much of. But anyway,
So what?
so the spices are good. We'll look at the spices later on. It's actually in your sheet. So when we go to the next one, those are fruits. Okay, we have berries and other kind of fruits. What you can see here is that all green, we have electrolyte, glycogen, great sources of glycogen. Great source of glycogen, and it has sugar and starch, and it is healthful. It has good effects on you. Okay, it has so when you can get sources that have the antioxidants, things like that, that's great. Electrolytes. all
What did you
that
say,
stuff.
blue mats again, Coach?
Huh?
What did you say, blue mats?
Blue is just, it really doesn't have much an effect. It's very minor or nothing. Fruit it can be acidic, especially if it's not very ripe. It can have a certain amount of acid in it. It's just one of those things where if you're going to have fruit, it's kind of nice to have other things with it, or just make sure it's ripe. Not very ripe, sometimes it's a little bit more acidic. But great sources of glycogen, antioxidants, electrolytes. So when you want to replenish glycogen, that's the way to go. In any case, synergy, vitamin C. Okay, there are a lot of different types of vitamin C type molecules in fruit, and they're very similar to each other. But a lot of times when you get vitamin C, from in pills, they'll say 100 milligrams, okay? And then you look at what an apple is or an orange, and it says 60 milligrams. You say, well, I'd rather have the pill, I get more. But actually, it's just talking about certain types of vitamin C in the orange. And what happens is, when you combine all the similar other molecules that are in the orange that's not considered vitamin C, it makes that vitamin C even more productive. You know, it's called synergy. It works synergistically to give you more than what it's stated. Okay, so when you get vitamin C from fruit, it's actually more a lot of times than what it says it is, because of how it works with the other molecules in the cell. Okay, vegetables. We're looking at green vegetables, cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables are they're most of the time they're green, but cauliflower is a cruciferous vegetable. It gets the name from something about the leaf. It takes on the shape of a crucifix, so they call it cruciferous vegetable. But it's a type of vegetable like cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, things like that. Kind of has a little bit of a bitter taste to it. But it's high in sulfur content, and it's very good for, very, very alkaline, and we need that alkalinity. And here it talks about, so you see the green is not a lot of, when you look at the leafy greens, not very high in glycogen, not much in starch, a lot of fiber, but it does have starch. Great antioxidants, good to work against acid. Surprisingly, it's about 30% protein, a lot of these things are. Anywhere from 10 to 30% protein. Spinach is the one that's going to have a higher content of protein of the leafy greens. But good for electrolyte loss as well.
Coach, my school's here.
Okay, now, there's a study.
Okay.
Guys, there was a study done with watercress. Watercress is very similar. It's very similar to kale or something like that. Something actually you get out of streams. The watercress, that's why they call it water. It kind of floats around in streams. Streams. I don't know how that works exactly, but I remember my dad getting some out of it when we went fishing one time. He got it out of the stream and cleaned it off and put it on a sandwich. But what they did is they had guys work out. They had them eat lots of watercress or a serving of watercress before they would work out. And they would first of all take a skin sample to see what their what the DNA was like, and well, they have a way of seeing if there's DNA damage, and so they would take a pre-workout sample, and then after the workout they would take another sample, and they would see a certain amount of DNA damage. Just damage to the DNA in those cells doesn't mean your body's going to change all of a sudden, but it shows that it's going through oxidative stress.
Yeah.
It's breaking the cell down. But the group that ate the watercress, they hardly had any kind of damage. And that's because they ate it prior to, and it made you very alkaline. It's very high in antioxidants, and so it started neutralizing before it even got into the cell.
Those Brussels sprouts too.
Huh?
Those Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts are so good.
I like
Brussels
You made them right?
Are cruciferous as well. Chard.
What happens when you cook these though? Like, do you lose how much nutrients do you lose?
Well, I mean, some of those you gotta cook. But I think anything, don't you have to pretty much cook those, don't you?
Yeah.
How much nutrients are you losing though? Is it like enough to the point where it'll actually make a difference?
Well,
Or should
I mean,
just
some
eat
things
them
you
all?
absolutely have to cook.
Yeah.
You know, now I mean, cabbage you don't have to, but there's a lot of things that.
Like broccoli. If you say broccoli for example, if you steam broccoli or
Steam is better.
like here, if you cook it in the oven, you know, you like
Yeah.
try to char it a little
usually
bit
the more,
versus
the higher
raw.
the temperature, the more you're gonna have
Higher the temperature.
drop.
Okay. You can get cuts it in like the magnitude of like half.
Oh, so that's why boiling
I can't. I'm not
I
sure.
got you. Okay.
But they just say try to, like broccoli, you can just use a little dip and just eat it raw. That's a better way to do it, I guess. Vasodilation, when you eat these kind of foods, what happens is, and you don't feel it, but you eat those kind of foods and your arteries literally dilate. They open up to where you get more exchange of oxygen and things like that. And you're actually, as opposed to a real fatty meal, like a burger and fries and things like that. Burger and fries is going to actually cause vasoconstriction. The very opposite of what you get from something like that. Okay. Now.
Wait.
What?
Never mind.
Okay. Other types of vegetables. Those were green and cruciferous vegetables. Okay, these are other kind of vegetables. Usually these have a little bit more starch in them than just a lot of fiber. Now, don't think of fiber as not being good for us nutritionally. It's just fiber, and like you get in the leafy greens, but because so many of those micronutrients in there are really important for us. Okay, in the more starchy vegetables, it's still going to have all the great stuff, but it's going to have more glycogen for you. A lot of these starchy vegetables is a good source of glycogen because it has all these other good things to go with it. Okay? Okay, lycopene. You know what lycopene is?
No.
Huh?
No.
Lycopene is it's like a red pigment or orange pigment that's in a lot of different types of things. Like, well, tomatoes is really known well for having, I don't think that's a tomato, but it's known to have a good source of lycopene. And they did a study on a cohort study with nurses, and they would have them, on their butt cheek, they would take a little sample of the skin just to see what the DNA was doing there as far as damage and all, and then it would come back later on. Well, they all would get under a tanning booth where they would kind of burn that skin a little bit, like sunburn. Well, they have one group, they didn't tell them anything, they didn't tell them what to eat, but the one group they said every day we want you to make sure you have different types of things that have lycopene in it. And so the group of nurses that didn't have the lycopene, they had a significant amount of DNA damage on those skin cells, but the ones that didn't, even though they put the sunlight on it, they didn't have hardly any damage. Lycopene actually protects the skin from the sun. And that's what the red color does, helps the different types of fruit to not get damaged from the sun. Okay? Now, beans and grains, good sources of glycogen, oxidants, protein loss, they have good sources of protein. Of course, the more you break it down, if you're going into white bread instead of whole wheat bread, then you're going to lose that protein.
I just changed this week, Coach. I have whole wheat bread now. Whole wheat bread.
Now, in the case of the beans, because of its high source of protein, is going to can be a little slightly acidic. Okay, but it has a lot of other stuff. So when it has carbohydrates and fiber and stuff in the beans as well, and so it's not that bad. What it really means, don't just eat beans, because it'll bring your acid levels up a little bit, not nearly like other kind of foods that we have to moderate a little bit. Okay, so a good source of glycogen, oxidative stress are the antioxidants, protein, electrolytes, just, it's a little bit acidic, but not bad. Okay, that's why it's blue. Okay. Now, when you look at the blue zones is where people who live the longest, in areas of the world where people live the longest, and where that happens is what they call the blue zones. Those populations, those cultures, tend to eat a lot of beans and legumes. Okay? Nuts and seeds. Okay? That's a little yellow. There's a little green arrow there. They do have some carbohydrates in them. Okay? Not much. So you're going to get a little, definitely not going to hurt. They do have antioxidants. They have protein, and they also have electrolytes, things to help out with the electrolytes.
What's the yellow mean? Water?
What? Yellow means it's going to have some acid. The reason it has acid, guys, is because it has a significant source of protein and it has a lot of fat. Now, it's good though, they have good fat and they have good sources of protein, okay? And all these other things that are going on are helpful. So if you're, but one of the reasons why they recommend that you don't just sit down and eat a jar of nuts, because it will tend to affect your body in an acidic way, okay? That's why it's yellow, you just don't want to eat a lot of it, but it's really good. You should probably, well, they feel like you should have, you know, some nuts and seeds every day. You know, a serving of each.
Are there different nuts that are better for you?
Yeah, well, we'll go into those.
Cool.
Okay.
Really?
Now, the meds, meat, eggs, and dairy. That's what meds are. Meat, eggs, dairy. So we have different types of meat, eggs, dairy. Not going to get much glycogen from them. Okay, that's one reason why I said you go on all protein diet is that you lose a lot of weight at first. It's because you're losing water because you're getting rid of glycogen. You're burning it up, but you don't have reserves. Okay, but they don't help any. When just living life, you produce oxidants or free radicals. Okay, this is not going to take care of that. It doesn't have antioxidants. It has very small amounts of antioxidants. Very acidic because meat, eggs, and dairy are made of protein, which is made up of what? Amino acids. And then you have fat that's in them, which is made up of
Fatty acids.
fatty acids. So what we're looking at is pretty much all acid based.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, so protein loss, it obviously helps, but I put a yellow there because you just have to be careful. I'm not saying you don't consume these things, but you need to be aware that there are really good sources of protein that doesn't have some of these effects. And that's where people who, I mean, there's been some really great athletes who are vegan or vegetarian. And they find really good sources of protein in plant food. And their ability to recover is pretty astonishing. So those are, I had a question.
Oh, I was gonna ask about like, since they have more, like, since they're more acidic, does that like make your body work harder to neutralize it, and therefore increase oxidative stress?
Yeah, it can. It's pretty common for people who just eat animal food, long term start having problems.
So
Originally they won't have problems. People going on diets where they're just eating meat, eggs, and dairy, trying to stay away from no carbohydrates whatsoever, they will eventually long term have problems. And anyway, so, but like I said, protein loss, electrolyte loss can be helpful, but you know, what's the trade-off? They're compromised, and so we have to kind of be careful. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. White bread. Okay. We try to stay away from it. It converts to sugar really fast. Again, it spikes your blood sugar, insulin, the whole bit. Mac and cheese, kind of same thing. You know.
What? Oh, bad mac and cheese? What if I make like good mac and cheese? Like what if it's like
I'm not sure how you do
like
that.
box mac and cheese?
Yeah, I mean,
No, not box mac and cheese.
it's gonna, just like white bread, it's gonna help you with glycogen. That's really about what it does. All those types of things convert to sugar pretty fast, and it makes you feel good.
So like what would be a better alternative for that? Like, cause I really like macaroni. Not like, it doesn't have to be cheese, but like if I have like a box of like elbows, you know? You know, those like boxes of elbows, and I boil them, and then I put like better cheese on them or something. Is that like an option?
Well, it's not just the cheese, it's a lot of the, well, it's also how they process the cheese. There's lots of things, lots of chemicals go into that stuff.
So is there something?
And that's why, RFK, the new guy who's in charge of our health,
Mhm.
and I mean, he's really fighting an uphill battle against all the corporations who like using that kind of stuff because they're cheaper to make food. They make food that we eat that's just not good for us. Okay, so like a burger, to be, you know, what you're looking at for a burger. If you're gonna have a burger, try to have a salad. Get rid of the fries if you're gonna do something like that. It'd be great to have whole wheat, but probably not gonna get that in
What
most
about like
places.
potato buns? Like potato buns good? Potato buns? Like the buns made out of like potato starch instead of flour.
I don't know.
They're supposed to be, I think they're supposed to be better.
Also, what about like pretzel buns? I don't like ever eat them, but I saw it at Chick-fil-A like last week.
Yeah, I don't think any of those really, I think the one, sourdough is a little bit better. Because it has a fermentation process and fermenting is part of it, can be good for us. But yeah, and usually whole wheat bread, if they say it's whole wheat bread, it's usually not very significantly different.
So what's the problem with the burger exactly? Is it literally just the bread? Because you got the meat, which is protein. And then
Well,
you got some
alright,
vegetables in there.
meat,
So meat
protein
and
and
cheese.
fat. Usually these things where they'll say 30% or 20% fat. Yeah,
Way more than
It's
that?
really more than that.
Ah, what if you made a burger yourself that was like less?
Well,
And if
It's the
alright,
meat he's talking about.
let's,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Be quiet, I'm asking.
One reason I'm saying if you're gonna have the burger, don't go overboard. You don't have to have the double burger, double cheese, double bacon, you know, whatever. You might wanna get something a little different to go along with it and not eat quite as much of that. This is coming from someone who used to eat that way all the time. I got to where I never ate burgers anymore, even though I liked them. And now I can't, if I do decide I want to eat a burger, I can't find one I even like anymore. I don't know, I just kind of lost my taste for it. But it'd be great if you could go somewhere and get a burger and you could get a salad instead of fries. Because you're not going to get anything nutritious from the fries, you're just going to get a lot of extra fat. Okay, after a meal like that, within about half hour, your arteries will probably constrict about 50%. They'll constrict. And we'll look at that elsewhere here later.
So we should eat that before every practice.
Yeah, if you eat something like that before practice, your arteries are going to constrict. Now, eventually they'll open back up until you have dinner, and then they're going to shrink back up again if you eat a lot of the same stuff. Now, this one it talks about it. This be like, oh, what is that? Biscuit, egg, and sausage, and hash brown. And after you do that, you go into vasoconstriction. That's where your arteries constrict. Okay? Now all of a sudden, you're just not able to, you don't feel any different. It's just that oxygen isn't running through the blood as quickly as normal, and you just don't seem to have as much in you.
Wait, what causes the arteries to constrict again?
What's that?
What causes the arteries to constrict again?
High fat content.
Yeah, fat content. Very cool.
Now, what do you think would happen if it's plant-based oil in it? Huh?
It's still fatty, but they're better for you.
Yeah, it still has the same effect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of people say, you know, cause the hope was people who study these things start realizing, man, it's so much better to make sure we get lots of vegetables and all this other stuff. And so when they were doing the study, they were thinking, boy, surely when they have a lot of vegetable oil, that it will be better, and it's not the same. Just high fat will cause vasoconstriction. Yeah.
What causes acid reflux?
Working out.
No, it has to do with what you eat.
Is it from oxidative stress and?
I feel like it's just whenever I eat really bad, like when I'm eating like sugars and like bad carbs.
I've never
bad
really
starches,
looked into it because
I always get it.
Yeah, I really haven't.
It's terrible.
I've heard caffeine can kind of have its effects.
Did you hear that?
You see caffeine? I still have it. So.
Okay. Now, what's the best single source for cellular recovery?
That's
Food source.
For cellular recovery.
Yeah. Hey guys, listen. Best food. So when you look at all of these things, what one type of food
Did you see vinegar, bro?
could be good for all of these?
Sweet potato.
Maybe not really high. Yeah, you already know that. Sweet
Did you
potato.
say vinegar?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like pure acid.
Now minus the butter. Minus the butter.
Oh, with butter.
Now, that is just me looking at all different types of food. That's not something that was advertised that way, but it is something that is very high in glycogen, very high in antioxidants, very high in alkalinity. Has a significant source of protein. Significant means if all you ate for your whole diet was sweet potatoes, you would get a significant source of protein.
Buying a bag of sweet potatoes out.
Okay. Now, you do need to mix your different types of amino acids. That wouldn't, but it does give you enough protein. Not high levels, but what's considered significant. Significant if you ate let's say you burn up 3,000 calories a day, you ate 3,000 calories of sweet potatoes, that wouldn't be fun. But you would have the amount of protein that you need. Okay? It's just not going to be the variety.
How many sweet potatoes should we eat? How many sweet potatoes should we eat a day?
You don't have to eat a sweet potato every day.
I know, but like,
But I'm just saying if you're going to eat one thing, that would be a pretty good way to go.
buy some sweet potatoes after this.
Okay. Right. Now, we've seen this before. Principle number 1, nutrient density. That's what we want. We want our food to be nutrient dense. White bread is not nutrient dense. Okay? It's starch. It doesn't have many micronutrients in it. Okay? Whole food, plant-based nutrition, plant food. To me, base means you base your meal around plant food, not,
A nice steak.
a 12-ounce steak.
Oh.
You don't base it around that. You base it around things that are gonna, I didn't talk about it a while when we first started, the difference between, what a micronutrient is, and when we're talking about food.
Yeah.
What's a micronutrient?
Like kind of like a
Vitamins and
Salts.
minerals.
Yeah.
A macronutrient are carbohydrates, fats, and protein.
Big one.
Now, most people, they just look at the carbohydrates, fats, and protein, trying to get a certain amount of each, with no regard to the micros. If you really look at getting a good variety of micronutrients, which the little thing that I have kind of helps you do that. If you're just looking at carbohydrates, fats, and protein, you are more likely not to get all your macronutrients or micronutrients, the vitamins and stuff that you need. Okay, raw or frozen or steamed is pretty good ways of getting these different types of foods. Your meal should be based around plant food, not meat, eggs, and dairy. Doesn't mean you can't have them, you just limit it to a certain extent. Now, the thing we've used, yeah.
So for like breakfast every morning, I eat or try to eat 3 eggs and then 2 pieces of peanut butter toast. What should I eat instead? Because it sounds like that's not the play.
Well, I mean, why do you eat 3 eggs?
Protein.
I really like eggs. Yeah.
I
Well-
eat eggs and avocado toast.
I might start doing that.
What are you not getting because you're,
So
okay, let's look,
something.
we'll go back and keep that question in mind.
Great.
I won't have to say it again. Okay, now, the phrase here, spicy fruits and vegetables are seductive, I just use that phrase, because it has significance, okay? Now, spicy is the first word, okay? So, every day just try to get at least 1 good spice in your diet. And we'll talk about those spices. The second word, fruits, should try to get 2 whole fruits every day. It would be nice if one of them was berries, okay? The third one is vegetables. Try to get 3 servings of whole vegetables each day, okay? Not something out of a can, but 3. Now, it should be green. You should get 1 grain. You should get a cruciferous, and then some other kind of vegetable, maybe a colorful vegetable, okay? So the order that these words come in has significance, okay? Seeds is the 4th one. There's 4 types of seeds in this group, okay? Good nutrition begins, so begin spells out a good nutrition begins with seeds. Beans, grains, nuts, and seeds begin. B-G-N-S. Okay? So that's kind of how it works. Then we'll break those down so you see what they are. Spices 1, 2, vegetables 3, and seed group. Okay, and we'll come. Now, that equals 10. Okay? That's a decathlon. Okay? Your nutrition decathlon. Okay. So if you're a decathlete, that'd be pretty exciting. So on the spices, I think they're on your chart, aren't they? Okay. These are, and there are some others that are really good, guys. There's a lot of really good ones out there. The capsaicins is a word I was thinking about a while ago. Those are the spicy foods, and they're really good for you. I just have not had it in there. But how?
Capsaicin is good.
Capsaicins are the different hot spices.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I'm a lot of things I think you can go overboard in. I think even like turmeric, you can go overboard to a point you start taking on kind of an orange color yourself. Fruit. So in other words, spices you should get at least 1, but it could be more. And be even helpful. Okay? Fruit 2 plus. In other words, you get more than just 2. But you try to make them whole fruits. So berries should be one of them, and some other kind of fruit. Now, along with the berries are the grapes. They kind of go in the berry group. They have very similar nutrients in them. And now, frozen fruit, there's times that you can get frozen fruit, relatively inexpensive, and just put them out in the refrigerator for morning, for breakfast or something like that. So blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, cherries, grapes, other kind of fruit, apples, pears, peaches. I went to Costco's the other day and got peaches. Yeah.
When you say something Whole Foods, is that like is buying it out of the store? Is that not Whole Foods, or like what do you mean by it?
Well, whole food means that it hasn't been changed. In other words, it hasn't been, cut up and
Fresh almost.
heated or something like that.
So not like out of a can or nothing like that.
Right, yeah, you try to avoid getting out of the can,
So going
because
to the store.
it has been processed so much that it just lost its nutrients. So a whole apple or something like that, as minimally processed as possible, where they don't add, take stuff away. You know, like white bread is highly processed. They take a lot of the parts of the grain out, and you just have what becomes the flour. You know, it just doesn't, it's lost a lot of its, almost all of its nutrients. Okay, vegetables, cruciferous. All right, so try to get 3 vegetables. TB means the more the better. Did they do that on the other words? I didn't. But, so the more you get, the better. Okay? It's hard to go overboard on vegetables. Cruciferous are those types that have a little bit more of sulfur in it, which is good. For people who are concerned about, like adults concerned about getting cancer, it's very good for fighting off cancer. But it's highly alkaline. Green vegetables, but you also see there's some cruciferous in there, and a lot of cruciferous are green.
So you kind of double dip there,
Yeah.
Christmas and green vegetable.
Yeah. I mean, you would count it one or the other. Well, you could, it just depends on what you want to do.
So can you give some examples of green vegetables that aren't cruciferous? Like other than
Well,
like celery?
Just celery, lettuce, there are different
The
types.
cucumbers.
Huh?
The cucumbers.
Cucumbers and things like that. Spinach isn't. Spinach
Oh,
is-
yeah.
is- The darker, guys, on these, the darker the better. Okay, if you get like, the white lettuce, what do they call it?
White lettuce.
Oh,
Iceberg lettuce.
iceberg lettuce.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, like, it's basically like this, crunchy water is all it is.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
very dark.
I don't like iceberg lettuce.
Okay, then other kind of vegetables. Again, on these, the more the better. I would say especially, depends on, you know, if you're someone who puts on a lot of weight, you might, you know, just be able to watch the starchy vegetables a little bit. Even though they're good for you, sometimes the starchy vegetables can give you more starch than you need. Okay, you need starch for glycogen, but once you fill the glycogen stores up, then you end up storing it somewhere else. Okay, so cauliflower, broccoli, kale, collards, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, those are all types of cruciferous. Arugula is also cruciferous.
Arugula's
vegetable.
kind of like a lettuce type deal.
So there are a lot of green vegetables that are cruciferous.
Whatever.
Okay, and I didn't put the green vegetables because you can just tell them because they're green. Okay, then colorful vegetables, starchy vegetables like potatoes. The seed group, good nutrition begins, beans, grains, nuts, seeds. So beans, try to get, you try to get maybe about 3 servings a day. And that would really depend on how active you are. 3 whole grains.
Do lentils fall under the beans category?
Yeah, beans and lentils. Nuts and seeds. These are the types of food that if you were to plant this in the ground, at some point in its lifetime, it would grow another cell. It would grow another plant. Okay, the beans would. So would the grains. Put it in the ground, it would grow wheat.
But not the nuts.
Okay, same thing with these. Okay, the nuts and seeds, however, are such that, well, even the beans, because it was created to create new plants, it's going to have a lot of really highly condensed nutrients in them, things that are really good for us.
That makes sense.
Because it's for the seedling and the plant when it just first starts growing for it to live off of. So in turn, we get a lot out of it too, yeah.
Sorry, it's probably a stupid question.
Are you cold?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you're cool, but if you, is there like a store around here that I can go and like get all this stuff? Like other than Aldi, I know Aldi, but like is there like a Whole Foods around here?
Whole Foods?
Well, there's
Whole Foods.
natural grocers.
Whole Foods are also really expensive.
Natural. Is it?
Natural grocers.
You gotta remember that for me.
There's one on
It's by Sonic on 21st.
I did have another question. For the seeds, is there like a bag of like seeds that you can get that are like have like spices on it, like seasoning that are okay to eat?
You could also just get
Just
nuts.
there are.
You just
No.
get nuts and
I
put them in
so-
chili cookers.
Alright, so we'll look at the different nuts and stuff. So black beans, garbanzo beans, kidney beans, peas, which is the lagoon, wheat, oats, lentils is also really good in the beans. Oats, quinoa, rice. Now again, whole rice, whole grain rice.
Not white rice.
Not white rice. Walnuts is a really good source of nuts for, it's considered to be, you know, one of the better ones.
Wait, what's the difference between white rice and? like,
What's that?
What's the difference between white rice and like other rice?
Well, they've taken the outer coating off, which
Okay.
has nutrients in it. And it makes it easier to combine with stuff and easier to cook.
Gotcha, so it's less nutrients.
Yeah.
Is there any nutrients in it?
Yeah, but it's also breaks down really quick. It's sort of like sugar.
Great.
So it's spike insulin levels.
Huh?
So white rice and spike insulin levels.
Yeah, it can. Depends on what else you eat.
I mean,
Can't
what if
catch
you
it.
do so much?
That goes with it.
What if I'm eating it with beef?
With what?
Like ground beef?
Okay, how much fiber is in a beef?
I ain't got no idea.
Okay, what about, sorry.
How about none?
I had this last night.
Usually it has to do with the fiber.
I had this last night.
No.
White rice with a
Dude,
can.
and you can do a day of eating
It was
a
like plain meat,
You'll
and I just warmed up the beans.
Just one day.
Put it in the rice.
That's pretty good. I mean, it has some fiber and stuff in it.
Coach, what about if I had something like pinto beans that was like cooked, and then I put like cornbread, like starch cornbread, and then put sugar on top? Is that bad?
No.
Does it ruin the like?
You might want to add some whipped cream. Why do you put sugar on top?
It's delicious.
With the beans?
Yeah.
Well,
I've
you know,
never heard that.
I tell you what, I like sugar in my chili.
I like sugar in my chili too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you put crackers in there too?
Well, that's
No.
normal.
I love sugar in my. No one else
No,
tells me
I-
that sugar in my
I,
chili.
uh,
No.
I don't know where I started that, but,
For dark chocolate. Oh wait, whatever.
but what I do, I use
That's in
erythritol
November.
instead of sugar. Erythritol doesn't have the insulin spike or anything, and to me, it tastes the same. As sugar.
What is erythritol? What's it made out of?
It's made out of like different types of vegetables, and it's a fermenting process it goes through. So the claim is it has some positive effects.
Wait,
So
what
it's
do you
not
call it,
like,
Coach?
it's not like other like stevia.
No, well, it's similar to stevia.
Okay, but
I
not
do
like
with that.
sucralose or like.
No, not the artificial kind.
Okay, so.
They don't consider, I know they consider it a sweetener, but it's not artificial.
What's it called?
Erythritol.
Erythritol.
How do you spell it?
I've heard that word.
I got it spelled here in a little bit, I'll show you. Pecans, cashews are the nuts. Seeds like flaxseed are really good. Ground, get ground. If you're gonna get flaxseed, get it ground because you'll just poop it out. It does, you can't digest flaxseed. Sunflower seeds, I just had some on my salad. So a good example. Okay. Don't. Yeah. Alright. I get about 1.5 cups of water. I'll put my protein mixture in there.
What protein is
So I don't always put the oats in there. Sometimes the oats kind of adds to its powdery taste. I don't know because of the protein mixture. What?
What protein is you use?
I use I use I think they call it vegan. I'm not
Just vegan protein.
necessarily getting vegan, but it's vegan, Orgain. You get it at Walmart, you get it at their, Costco's has it too.
Yeah, it's just a Costco.
But I don't always put oats in there. I do if I wanna get grains, if I don't think I might get grains. And oats can kinda make it creamier, but I just don't do it all the time. Now it depends on where you get your greens, okay? I get the big bags of kale that Walmart has,
I think I just
that's
got
already
one.
clean, huh?
I think, like, and it's not frozen?
Yes, not
Yeah, I
frozen.
think I just got one.
Yeah, so what I do with that is I put a little hole in the top of the bag